I'm Eric Simon,
Doctor?
doctor, professor, whatever you wish.
Hi, Dr. Simon, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
This is, what, 46, 53?
Right, 39.
All right. Number 90, and you look like about the 46. You're looking
Thank
good.
you.
Wow, what do you attribute that looking good to?
Well, a lot of good genes, the good luck, and working at it.
All right. And you've been a professor, and
Yes, I've been
tell us
here
about a little bit of...
55 years. Before that, I was at Cornell Medical School for 9 years. Before that, I was student and postdoc. Postdoc at Columbia, PhD student at the University of Chicago.
And your specialty, would you say, was what?
Well, I started as a chemist, an organic chemist, and then I went into biochemistry because I thought it was much more exciting. And from that, I got into neuroscience, which is what I did most of my life, working on the chemistry of the brain.
Okay, chemistry of brain means what?
Means we looked at how, in our particular case, how do the opiate drugs, drugs like morphine and methadone and drugs like that, interact with the brain to produce pain relief and addiction. And in the process, we discovered that the brain cells have so-called opiate receptors, to which the drugs have to bind in order to perform whatever they do. And then the discovery was made that they were there not for drugs, they were there for substances in the brain, which we now call endorphin, a word that I actually invented.
That's what I heard. No, that's been fantastic.
That was in 1975. And if I wish I had a penny or a dollar for every time that's used.
Well, the good of humankind.
Right.
And people know you for that. That's a wonderful legacy.
Actually, it is apparently in Wikipedia under the term endorphin that I coined the term.
Well, I had the good fortune to work on the Brain series at public television, the first one.
I wasn't involved in, but I certainly watched. Are you talking about the PBS?
The PBS one with Richard Resnick?
Dr. Kandel is a...
The first one in '82, a long time ago.
That one I don't remember, but one that Dr. Kandel was involved in, I watched almost every one of them, and they're wonderful. And Charlie Rose, on the Charlie Rose show, and Dr. Kandel was on this faculty for several years, and we became very good friends.
You know, today in the front page of the New York Times, they talked about DNA. Somebody was in a coma, and they came out of the coma as a result of some DNA research. What do you think?
They are able now to very rapidly and fairly cheaply sequence DNA, and this time they were able to find the bacterium that made this kid suffer, and were able to show that it's sensitive to penicillin and save his life. I think it's a wonderful story.
And the future with DNA?
I think the future of DNA, with chemistry of the brain, with neuroscience, is wonderful. I mean, there's enormous progress that's going to be made as long as we put money into research and stay out of wars.
I love that. You're a peacenik. I love that. Now tell me, for future young people to go into the world of science, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a rough period right now because it's not easy to get a research grant. Money is tight, but it's such an exciting, wonderful career, wonderful occupation that I would still say, give it a try. You make a decent living and you have a lot of fun.
And for you to stay in it so long, what was your passion?
I mean, in terms of...
in terms of sticking with the 55 years, that's not a small...
I love research. I had wonderful students, wonderful postdocs, wonderful technicians, wonderful visiting scientists who worked with me, and we had a wonderful time together, and we made some very nice discoveries and published some interesting papers. And I can't think of a more satisfying profession. I also was a very passionate and proficient alpine skier, and that was my, and of course my other passion is my family, my dear wife, to whom I've been married for almost 67 years.
Oh my God.
Right over there.
Wow.
In the green blouse. And
that's beautiful.
I have 3 wonderful children and 4 wonderful grandchildren and 4 adorable great-grandchildren.
Beautiful. Last question, because I know there's a lot of people want to see you on your birthday here today. What's good news for you? What's good news for you?
What do you mean by what's
Good news in any aspect, your personal life, your professional life.
Anytime you're healthy and enjoying life, that's good news.
That's true. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I'm here with Dr. Robert Cancro. Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
When you walked in, Dr. Simon said, this guy hired me.
Well, he actually was an employee at NYU in the Department of Medicine, and I was able to transfer him to my department where he had the better laboratory facilities and where his work was more pertinent to the other things we were doing.
Tell us a little bit about what facility that is, where it is, and...
Well, it was all part of NYU Medical Center at that time. It was before it became the NYU at Langone Medical Center. And he was in the Department of Medicine and moved into the Department of Psychiatry and worked for a number of years in the Milhausen laboratories, developing a very, very outstanding program in a field which was the cutting edge of neuroscience at that time.
Opiates, endorphins?
The opiate work, the endorphin work, yes.
How do you see the field growing from when those days were?
Well, predictions are usually made by old people or fools or combinations of both because they're rarely correct. I think the future, very important development in the future will be the use of instrumentation, the use of devices. I think you'll see less reliance on the pharmacology and more reliance on devices which can alter brain activity through means other than pharmacologic intervention. So I think that's going to be a big issue. I think there will continue to be some developments, obviously, in psychopharmacology, but there hasn't been that much really new in psychopharm in many years. We sort of hit an impasse.
What do you think about today in the New York Times, someone saying something about DNA and helping somebody get out of a coma?
Well, one mustn't believe everything you read in the New York Times, but in all seriousness, coma is a state of consciousness, and there are many things that can alter a state of consciousness, and whether introducing stem cells or DNA or things of that sort would alter it, I just don't know. But it is an area where we have to work because alterations of consciousness are very, very important in psychiatric disorders. And it's an area where the field of consciousness studies just hasn't moved very far in recent years. So I think it could be a very important area in the future.
Do you think our population has, in psychiatric terms, gotten better or gotten worse? Or is it still the same exact thing?
Well, it's very hard to say because when there's increased awareness and consciousness, you notice things that you don't otherwise notice, first of all. And second of all, there's a tendency to label as illness today things that years ago we would have called idiosyncrasy or, oh, that's just the way Aunt Tilly is. And we wouldn't have said that there's something wrong with her. We just say, she's a little weird. So some of it is labeling, some of it is increased awareness, and some of it obviously is that the stresses that we face today are very, very different and in many ways much worse than the stresses we had to deal with in the past.
I interviewed Temple Grandin just a couple of weeks ago, and she basically said the entire Silicon Valley has autism.
Well, they can afford it.
Good sense of humor help?
It helps you get through the day, that's for sure.
All right, well, this is a big party for your buddy, 90 years and 55 years, I believe, with the field of education and research. And you put a couple of days in, too, in this field, right?
Yes, I have.
You're proud to say that.
Most of my adult life, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's good news for you? Last question. What's good news?
Well, I tend to be an optimist, and I always believe that the future is going to be better and that good things will happen to people who are prepared to recognize them and put them to good use. It's really a matter of taking advantage of the opportunities.
So well stated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.